FD Signifier did a video
praising,
pretty much talking about Marc Lamont Hill, but it was really focused on a black intellectual like Marc Lamont Hill being accepted and coming into spaces of black podcasting.
The nigga net.
The nigga net. Oh yeah, I forgot that was a term.
It's only useful in times like this.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, essentially. So let's just watch the very beginning of this video. We can put this on the screen.
Shout out to FD Signifier. I fuck with his videos.
Yeah. The nigga net looks cool.
Black podcast land is mostly a parade of atrocities. There's a few good joints, a few, but not that many. Shout out to the Grits and Eggs podcast. I'm trying to make that happen soon. I like higher learning a little bit. Shout out to the Poor Minds. Shout out to Jokes on You. There's good entertainment, like knowledge sharing and other stuff happening out there in podcast land in some places. The rest of them, it's like a scene from Mad Max and there's hot garbage everywhere. And then all of a sudden, Marc Lamont Hill just made me realize that maybe things can be better.
So hit pause. So it just came out hot. You know what I'm saying? Black podcasting is full of atrocities.
Yeah, hot garbage. I believe you put it.
It's saved by Marc.
Marc is a symbol of hope in an abandoned wasteland.
Right.
He's Jesus.
Not necessarily the return of Christ, but he is just a symbol of positivity. Like, okay, things can get better.
So but I think it's important that
maybe Joseph.
One, do y'all agree with that? Do y'all agree with his first take? And do you think that's the average person's thought on black podcasting? It's just full of hot garbage and full of atrocities.
I think he means intellectually. Because as he goes on to evolve the whole opinion in the video, that is the main sector that he attacks.
Right.
In terms of like niggas just chatting, not the Dunning-Kruger effect. Just a bunch of niggas who are too stupid to know they're stupid, and they're just talking.
It's not the majority.
That's the majority of podcasts.
It's not the majority. Like majority of black podcasters aren't filled with people with just like high intellects that are like know about a lot.
I guess it's more of a fact.
It's just.
Because I don't think he's wrong. And then it's also like back when y'all say, like, when I will say black people have bad customer service, but I've been to more white establishments.
Yeah.
Like, are there more, is a population thing? There's just more white people with podcasts, so we have more options.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't even of like higher learning or more intelligent conversations. But at the same time, I don't think it's that all the way either, because I mean, we can just look at the spaces that these areas are having conversations in, even if it's on like a CNN or a Fox, or there's not that many black people in those spaces either.
Well,
but that is a different form of media. I think he's talking about specifically like the internet, online, YouTube, podcasting space.
Right.
And I also think that I guess what he's trying to say is that Marc is essentially like, the back screen wasn't like just for a joke. Yeah. He is like the Neo in terms of like he can go some different places like comedy,
he can operate
education,
at all levels.
politics. Like he can do all those things. Because now that I think about it, there's many black podcasters that are talking about health, fitness.
I don't know any.
There's this one like Hotep, like kind of
That's his point though.
But
Hotep. Once you get into Hotep, you can slip into pseudo.
I said
pseudosciences and conspiracy theories.
And on top of that, that's not going to be recognized by the masses.
By high academia.
Which is why.
Right.
Exactly. But I mean, there's other ones. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he got a podcast. But
Marc, I actually fuck with Neil deGrasse Tyson podcast. I've been watching that every day.
What? Really?
Yeah.
You hate that nigga.
It's him and another black dude.
I'm honest though. I'm objective. I don't like Neil deGrasse Tyson, even as I was watching.
Is it new?
No, it's not. He's been doing it for a minute, but it's just like the conversations that they having, dog. Like you can't, even if you hate that nigga, you gotta. Hey, I'll take my pride for learning about the solar system.
Okay, cool. I'm going to watch that then.
Black holes, but and he has a comedian on there, and there's this Asian dude who's also like an acclaimed academic
scientist or some shit like that. Yeah.
And like he's got like a funny way of relaying information. It's a good ass show.
And I don't know. I got to watch the video. I just don't know like his overall point is that like, are white people better? Like, is he ever going to say that?
No.
He doesn't say that, right?
No.
I think the overall point was the one that mainly highlight Marc Lamont Hill and like this run that he's been on just flaming niggas up.
And
because that's the main basis of it.
He's on Joe Budden, which is like probably the biggest black podcast.
That's what he goes on to say.
Yeah, so it 100% is.
So when you think of black podcasters, you think of Joe Budden, and anything that's around him is probably highlighted and exaggerated. So, you know, Marc Lamont is going to look that fucking good.
Wait, what are you saying, though?
He's saying that Marc Lamont Hill is a big fish in a small pond.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
for sure. But he's also a big fish in big ponds, too.
Oh, no, of course. Yeah. And, like, even before Joe Budden.
It just looks even crazier.
Marc Lamont on Joe Budden, he's going to look very fucking
But you're proving his point overall and saying that, like, Marc Lamont Hill being not even kind of intellectual, but, like, because I feel like when we talk about his intelligence, it almost gets deified to where it's like we're saying he's a genius. We're not saying he's a genius, but he does more research than most niggas who just sit down and get microphones and talk.
Yeah.
So just
for a good convo.
Just innately, the fact that that's happening more often than not, or you know what I'm trying to say.
And wisdom too. Marc Lamont has lived a life, and it's like I don't know where I heard this quote, but it was like wisdom is like knowledge plus application. And like you can literally see that with Marc every time he talks. It's like he knows what he's talking about. He's pulling from different like real sources and shit.
I saw this one quote. It was like, wisdom is when your brain is your friend.
I like mine's better.
I like mine better. And you know, I actually I gave it to so we got somebody real quick. We got somebody at our job going through a little divorce, right?
Ooh. That's what it is.
I didn't tell you.
Oh,
nigga, his girl don't want him. But he going through a little divorce.
He's going through it.
And like, it's weird because like one day he came up to me and I was like, yo, what so-and-so, how you doing? He was like,
nothing to lose.
He was like, yo, I'm fucking, you know, I'm all right, man. You know, I'm just going through something. And he said it with the tone of like, I want to talk to you and tell you what's going on, but I also don't want to just dump. Right. And I gave him the energy of like, yo, my nigga, I'm fucking just waking up. Like, come on, dog. Give me some time.
Yeah.
So then he came to me another day, right?
Yeah.
He came up and he finally just dropped it on me. Like before I could even say hello or anything, he was just like, yo, I'm going through this. And I was like, he kept telling me about how he's been up all night, you know, his brain is tormenting him. I hit him. I was like, yo, dude, wisdom is when your brain becomes your best friend. And he was like, wiped his tears and shit. Like,
are you serious?
It's like, that's real shit. And then he went on about his day.
You got free tears off that because he's already fucked up.
It was 6 a.m., dog. Yeah. Come on, I was crying. I'm not even going through a divorce.
He slept for 5 fucking weeks. He's been going through a divorce.
He's been going through it.
That is some real shit. But
that's a better quote.
You know, just bringing up, you know, Marc and you know his wisdom and whatnot. Marc he's smart, but
to what I was saying,
though, his intelligence being deified, we have to like Marc is smart in a lot of different areas.
We got to bring this nigga down
to his level.
No, not to my level, but
the sped class.
Maybe we have to like try to shoot him down just to see if we can. You know what I mean? Like just to see if it's real.
So his intelligence is making you feel questionable about your position.
No, I'm just saying it's like
that's what it sounds like.
We have to take care of our own. We have to check our own. We have to make sure our own is in balance. Or he could go on Piers Morgan and lose it.
Now, to FD Signifier's point, he's saying that's what's happening. Is Marc going into these spaces where niggas like Ish? I think he even says this. Ish is probably normally the smartest nigga in the room.
He does say that.
But that's an even smaller pond with an even smaller fish. You know what I mean? So the fact that he's finally being challenged by somebody who does like who has intellectual integrity.
Extensive research. Yes, and
intellectual integrity. Like it's not, this isn't a feeling that I'm justifying. Like I'm trying to look at empirical data and really draw a conclusion that's, you know,
and draw some
realistic.
nuance.
But why do you think black people in terms of podcasting, why do you think black people are so unreceptive to knowledge like this though?
I don't think black people are unreceptive.
I do.
It's just having a hard time getting his muffin cracked for the first time. And that's because he's normally a muffin cracker. And, you know, most people can dish it but can't take it.
Wait.
That's human nature.
Say that one more time.
The muffin cracking thing?
Nah.
Why do you think black people I don't think
they're not receptive to new information?
To new information or intellectual information. I don't think it's that prevalent in the black podcasting space or media spaces because niggas don't want to hear it.
Who said that they're not as receptive? Is that an argument one of us made or the FDs made?
It's just a thing.
Yeah, but it is also something that was said in the video to where he was saying that like most of the time, the push away that he's getting is what Ish is displaying. Ish is displaying like a typical reaction where it's like, I don't even want to hear you talk or finish your statements. Mm-hmm. But he was also bigging up the other people on the podcast that are like okay with sitting back and letting Marc talk and educate.
Learning.
Yeah.
But Ish is stank face, which Joe does go into that. We'll go into that in the next subject where Joe just kind of had to check that nigga like, bro, you've
been grumpy.
You've been grumpy as a motherfucker these last couple of weeks.
That's grumpy. Yo,
and that's the typical. I feel like that's the typical reaction, and that's what FD was saying. Like, Ish is displaying what would typically happen when that knowledge is brought into a space of people that don't want to learn.
Yes. People who are pseudo-intellectuals, to make it more specific.
Right.
Because the pseudo-intellectuals are normally never challenged by niggas who know enough to know they know nothing.
Exactly.
And Marc Lamont Hill is finally... Yo, they literally had a moment where the nigga tried to debate him on a book that he just wrote about the same subject.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
literally
for
like
sure.
the most blatant...
Yeah.
Like, you would think that's a sketch. Like, that's just like a cartoon drawing to exemplify this.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And
it's perfect.
Like, man... I don't know.
Crack his muffin. Go ahead.
Has Ish, what is smart? Like, has Ish ever really been smart? Like, he's just been the smartest on the JBP?
Well, he
Is that the
graduated
truth?
from an HBCU, unlike you.
One of the top ones.
He has successful...
Is that better than A&T?
I don't know. I didn't go to college.
They don't have 𝐺𝚅. So fuck him.
Less distractions. He's probably smarter than you. And
wow,
he got into the real estate
You're summing
game.
up 𝐺𝚅, the homecoming celebration, to the education standards.
That's why he's stupid.
That's a problem.
Not necessarily.
That's a problem. That's what I heard.
No.
just now.
You thought throwing ass equated to intellect?
Better. You said
is it
maybe,
better?
and I said they don't have a 𝐺𝚅. I'm not talking about education.
And then
That's better.
And then you did this.
First of all,
Then you
STEM
did this.
school. STEM school.
He hit you with the gotcha. Fuck out of here,
It's
nigga.
a STEM school.
Send it right back.
STEM school.
What?
It's
what that
STEM.
mean?
Science.
Science. But
Science.
aren't all schools STEM now?
No.
Unless it's a Catholic or a private school who don't have STEM.
I feel like those are the first ones that get them.
No, nigga.
I don't know shit about this.
Come on, dog.
Yes, you just spouting.
I'm about to argue.
Niggas just spouting at the
I know
mouth.
nothing.
No, to answer your question, no, we shouldn't listen to pseudo-intellectuals, nigga.
Like you.
But
I'm not a pseudo-intellectual. I'm a real intellectual. I do the research.
That's not even how you normally talk.
And you're okay. You're okay with being wrong.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck.
You take being wrong, okay. Better than Ish.
Take it better than everybody.
Way better
here.
than Ish.
Take it fine.
You do say certain shit with blind certainty, though. Which I
for
think
sure.
gets in the way of your intelligence points. Like just the
Everybody
fact.
does, though.
But nah, he's worse.
And
No,
that's
I'm not.
I think he's the worst.
No, I don't think so.
we're
I
all
we're
a
all
little
pretty bad.
pseudo-intellectual. But that's the thing, though. Like, we don't take ourselves too seriously, and we
Yeah.
also don't advocate.
Well, he is.
We also don't advocate for like critical thinking like Marc does. So
I do.
we're not going to be put on this. No, you don't. We're not going to be put.
Nigga, I
Hold
love
up.
critical
I don't know if I
thinking.
can stay on that critical thinking line.
No, we don't like.
That's what I'm saying. I feel
That's a
like,
hard line
I feel
to
like we
stand
all
on.
appreciate original thoughts, being able
No.
to work your way through logic.
Yes, but we be up here bullshitting.
You be up here bullshitting.
You be up here bullshitting.
There's comments talking
don't try
about
to
your
put us-
There's comments
intelligence.
trying to defend me.
There's comments talking about your
There's
demand.
a
South
comment.
Beckett. I
There
remember
is
his name.
a comment trying to defend you.
Exactly.
And-
you can't even count.
I'm half and half, baby.
Now you're 2 for 3.
Come
You're
on.
2 for 1.
No,
Come on,
nigga, you're
baby.
literally 24 and 1, dog.
I'm half and half, nigga.
Or 1 and 24.
Half and half, nigga. I'm shining. But nah, I think that
Look how he trying to push his thought process about this shit on us.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Pseudo-intellectuals, dog. That's why we need a Marc Lamont Hill, maybe a Tone Groove, occasionally an FMAC when he, does his research.
Black podcasters don't have a problem with like hearing information, but
He should have put Olay and Friends up there.
yes,
That was crazy.
Potty mouth.
Olay and Friends for sure. I don't know if Potty Mouth podcast is like. Well, no, that would go again. He was naming like the intellectual one.
the intellectual.
Potty mouth.
Yeah.
Shout out my boy Dom.
Potty
He
mouth.
It's a
intellectual.
different
Shout out to
brand.
Dom still.
Yeah,
It's a
he
different brand
intellectual.
though. Yeah.
You got to see E4 cook. E4 pull out that thesaurus.
The thesaurus.
Said them shits in Spanish.
But nah, I do think if what I'm guessing he's about to go into, just Marc, his presence being on the JBP, it is very important.
It's good for the black community.
Because motherfuckers probably don't even think like knowing shit is important. You know what I mean? Like knowing how to rebuttal information. Like,
yeah.
You know,
yeah, I get what you mean.
It's certain shit.
Just, you know, on the street, at the street level.
Street level. It's like, oh shit, this nigga Marc really be knowing shit. I need to step up. You know, that should be real.
Or he's willing to admit that he doesn't know something, which is even more important.
Yes.
Because a lot of niggas have blind certainty and die on hills that they don't even know how they got on top of.
Exactly. Which is okay if you know how to survive the burn that comes with being on top of that hill. You know,
that's what makes you stubborn, though. That's what makes you ignorant.
That was wrong.
You're the problem.
That was wrong. That was bad.
He's literally the problem.
But
You
it
are
all
the problem.
depends.
You're the problem.
It just all depends on how you play your cards.
You're everything wrong.
No,
You're
it's
everything
not.
wrong with Black Podcast. One nigga.
I'm not.
He can't talk. Listen.
I'm not.
He said,
Don't
yo,
take
it's
any
okay if
information.
you can take that heat when you're up there and you wrong, yo. It's okay to just keep
You
going.
gotta stand your ground.
If you alive, it's all right to get burnt, man.
you are
alive.
you're the problem.
Hey,
You're the
man.
problem. You're the problem with black customer service.
Yes.
And black
What?
podcast.
I'm with you now.
Whoa.
You're the issue.
I'm the issue.
Yeah, Jay fucking
Black
Noblez.
customer service and black podcasting. You're okay with subpar presentation every time.
Beckett's on my side.
Back it.
Beckett.
That's crazy.
You
That's
might not
his
even
name.
be pronouncing his name right.
It probably
am.
is.
It's probably Bake It.
Yeah, it probably
Bake
is.
Or Bake Tea.
Baked tea. Hey,
Bake Tea.
nah, man.
But are we going to watch
okay,
some more of this FD?
You love FD.
Love is a strong word. I appreciate FD Signifier.
And
I
we-
watch his content, and I don't always agree with everything he says, but I appreciate the amount of research that he does. Because even if I disagree with the nigga, I can still learn about what he's talking about. And not just his formulation of what's happening.
Now, I will say, people that usually make videos about intellectual or like being an intellectual, they sometimes can fall under the bracket of pseudo-intellectual.
But
Like,
you don't
just
watch
because
FD though.
I don't. And
Because
that's
he
why I'm
doesn't even
saying-
talk about, like, if you go to his main page right now,
Yeah.
he's talking about shit like Diddy, like the Deion Sanders situation.
Okay.
Like, it's
There's
not.
a B-side, so just search FD Signifier because this is another channel he pimping off of.
And there
right now.
are times where, like, he does go deep in on some, like, real, like,
Yeah.
police, the police industry,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. Or
Yeah,
what
that's his
happened with
main
the last election and shit, like.
Okay.
And he even made a video on Hotep niggas.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, he goes through the research of, like, what it means to be a Hotep, how that first became a term. He even did the Diddy thing. Like, it's not just, it's intellectual shit, but it's not for the purpose of being intellectual.
Okay.
It's just his approach.
Okay. I've said maybe. I never watched the nigga. Like, I don't watch FD.
Talk about the Drake Kendrick beef.
I don't know why I don't watch FD. I feel like my algorithm, I've seen his videos. I should have just naturally, like, I don't know why.
What got me was like months ago when he made the video about Dave Chappelle. And like, you know, because Dave Chappelle, he had a couple specials in a row where he was talking about the alphabet people, is what he called them.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, you know, FD Signifier had an opinion on that. But he's the one that got me to watch Bamboozle. And that's why I told you about that shit, because he made a video on
I wonder
it.
if that might have been the first video I seen of FD too.
The Bamboozle one?
No,
or
the Dave Chappelle one.
Yo, he also...
I'm trying to think if there's something else that I saw that was like, that made me want to watch his channel for the first time.
He also made a good video about like the hidden black conservatism. And he used like Jay-Z, Bill Cosby, and I think Louis
Farrakhan?
Minister yeah, that video
Everybody
right there,
uses
Minister
Farrakhan.
Farrakhan, as an example of like, you know, how
Conservatives,
blacks hold up
capitalists.
some conservative values and it's kind of like under the rug a little bit. Like, you don't look at Hove and go, man, that nigga a capitalist or a conservative.
Yeah,
You just look at Hove, it's like, yo, he from Marcy, son.
yeah.
Put himself by
Keep
his
scrolling down.
bootstraps, selling crack.
Or, yeah. I just seen Snoop Dogg. He was recently on the Breakfast Club, and we're going to get back to FD, you know. But Snoop Dogg, he was recently on the Breakfast Club, and every time I see him now, I just think about when you had said like, bro, Snoop Dogg is a grimy nigga. Like,
I didn't say grimy, I said wishy-washy.
wishy-washy.
Different. It's a little different.
You did say you didn't fuck with that nigga at all.
This nigga said
You.
Snoop Dogg.
Okay, you're officially a pseudo-intellectual. I'm the last smart guy left.
Snoop Dogg was
This
like,
nigga.
hey man, I don't represent the Republican Party. I don't represent the Democratic Party. I represent the Gangster Party.
Am I wrong?
What? Swear to God that he said that.
Just recently?
Just recently. He was like, I represent the Gangster Party, man. I don't know about this other stuff. I just, you know, I did my thing with the Republicans because that's what Snoop Dogg would, you know.
I like Snoop Dogg. I still think he's cool. I would still smoke with this nigga. But I got older and realized that he's a both sides of the coin kind of guy. And I think it's of course to protect his public image because he sells a lot of commercials. He sells everything. He has a lot of products. So you can't really choose a side. But it's something blatant about how Snoop Dogg does it. It's something that's like he's like Jay Nobles in the sense where like you'll go far left and then far right. And then like you kind of appear center because you all over the place, but you all over the place. And I think it's okay to note that a nigga's all over the place.
Well, Snoop Dogg doesn't seem all over the place. Like,
I don't even think he smokes weed anymore.
I don't even think he cares.
Damn, bro.
I think he's fake smoking weed, dog.
Snoop Dogg, no, he smokes weed. Snoop Dogg doesn't even care.
He fall for propaganda.
I'm nuanced. Snoop Dogg doesn't even care about the nuance of like his position. He just doesn't care. Like, I just think genuinely, okay, this check is coming from here. Fuck it. So I gotta perform. It's what I do.
Nigga, he wakes up and tries to exude nuance.
When you're one of the biggest billboards in the world, it's kind of hard to
You're not a person anymore.
It's hard to.
When you're one of the biggest billboards in the world, you're not a person anymore.
You're not a person anymore.
There's something that like you can't be you and sell everything. Like it's happening with Kevin Hart.
And you can't adhere to everybody's feelings, and
you can't even be honest to your own feelings because you might piss somebody off.
Yeah.
I think it's happening with Kevin Hart too. Every time I turn something on, Kevin Hart is selling me some shit.
I like that though.
It's cool because I like Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
You know, I like when my guys that I like get money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's good positive energy.
Yeah.
But there is something about what's the word? Commoditizing yourself.
Commoditizing.
I can't trust your pronunciation of it, nigga. F-Mac.
Commoditizing.
When you make yourself a commodity, let's not try to sound smarter than we are.
Yeah.
When you make yourself a commodity, you lose some kind of humanity, I feel like, nigga.
Oh yeah, nah, that's
it's not the same.
And you know, like just to wrap this up a little bit, and that's part of the problem with commoditizing your art.
I thought we figured it out.
I don't know, but put it in the comments. I'll say just because, you know, it's 70% anyway.
Yeah, you 70% anyway. You probably.
But when you have to commoditize your art, it takes away from like the childlike nature that you started with. You know what I mean? Because you're like slutting yourself out.
Be a kid again, nigga.
But
overall with FD and Marc Lamont Hill, we can should we skip a little bit forward?
Yeah, we can.
And being that Marc Lamont has been in the podcasting space for not even a year, right?
It's been a hot couple of months, right?
He's been in the podcast space for years. It's just.
But in terms of the Joe, you mean specifically on Joe Budden's roster?
Joe Budden is the podcast space.
6 months.
Yeah.
All that other shit before, it doesn't mean nothing. Let's be honest.
All that said, I don't want to pick on Ish too much because I think in this case, he's maybe being treated a bit unfairly by the audience because of how he comes off. And it's important to recognize that Ish is a successful businessman and real estate person before the Button podcast. He's not like a pure barbershop philosopher just saying dumb shit out of his ass. He at least has reason to see himself as an intellectual and as a successful and forward-thinking man. For I understand, he was in corporate America before he got into real estate. I believe he has a degree from Morgan State University, which is a top tier HBCU, probably top 5 among HBCUs. And I can tell you as an HBCU grad that like any university, there's a chance that someone gets their degree without becoming all that knowledgeable. They may know things, but knowing things doesn't necessarily make you an intellectual. Being intellectual means also, along with like knowing stuff, is having critical thinking, doing real research, not just Wikipedia or YouTube or barbershop research, and most importantly, having reflexivity and self-reflection on your learning so that you're using essentially a scientific method towards your own attainment of knowledge versus saying,
I know this thing, and because I know this thing, I can use that knowledge to dominate a space or a conversation.
Even if that knowledge is outdated or incorrect. Quick sports analogy to make this make sense.
It takes an intellectual, nigga.
And like
you gotta thumb through books to even get to that level of understanding.
And even what he was talking about with like just having knowledge, I immediately thought of like niggas that talk about 48 laws of power and like, you know, I don't talk about that book, but
you used to talk about that book.
You're lying.
You talk about 48 laws of pimpology all the time.
Jay, that's definitely talk about that book.
Bro,
pimpology. I'm talking about 48 laws of power.
You're not
pimpology.
You're not intellectually flexible.
Whoa.
You're not intellectually flexible.
Intellectually, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's contagious, nigga.
But
Your lack
You
of
didn't hear
degrees
that,
is rubbing off on me.
But
Yeah, I heard it, yeah.
he
Yeah, AJ, your turn's coming soon. Wait till we gotta read something, nigga.
yeah, nah.
I can't read today. It's over with.
You can't read any day.
Some days I'm really good. Today's not it.
Yeah, I think it depends how much fog is on your lenses.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but what the fuck is you about to say, nigga?
I was just about to say, like, niggas that talk about 48 laws of power, a lot of them be like pseudo-intellectuals. Like, you'll read a fucking rule and like think that you can just apply that without like the years and kind of like experience that takes to really understand why that rule is a rule.
Most niggas read the book and don't read like the little sidebar that explains why and how and where. They just read the rule and it's like, be an asshole today. I bet.
Now, 48 Laws of Pimpology, that's by Pimp and Ken, and that's what they was talking about.
That's
I
a little
talk
bit
about
more
that
fleshed
book.
out. You know what I mean? It's a little bit more fleshed
Oh
out.
my God.
But shit. What I was about to say.
I was gonna get over to Joe Budden just getting sick of this nigga Ish.
Word. Yeah. Because I want to hear his opinion on Mark though, and like, does he say how smart
he goes into like the difference between Mark
30 minutes.
and other motherfuckers?
It's over with.
See, but you should start watching FD, dog. Sounds like you know your heart's in it a little
It's
bit.
over with on this topic.
Your curiosity's peaked, nigga.
Ah, shut up.
Yeah.
Because what are we at right now?
I love FD.
123.
Oh yeah, it's over with.
Yeah, no, shout out FD. You know, we gotta do some research on some other shit, nigga. We gotta stay intellectually flexible.
Yeah, nah. But
Gay? Y'all ready?
yeah.